It was just past 4 in the morning when I woke up to flashing lights and loud knocking on my front door. At first, I thought something serious had happened, maybe an emergency in the neighborhood. But nope, it was way more ridiculous than that. Standing on my porch, phone still in hand, was my HOA neighbor. Let's just call her Karen, claiming I was blocking her guests from parking in my own driveway. Yeah, you heard that right. She had actually called 911 because I wouldn't move my Jeep which was parked exactly where it should be, on my private property. Now, let me be clear, I don't usually get into it with neighbors. I mind my business, I keep my yard clean, I don't throw parties or blast music. But this crossed a line. Apparently, Karen had planned some early morning gathering and expected me to make room for her guests, without ever asking me beforehand. And when I didn't magically know to move my Jeep, she escalated. Big time. So now there's an officer at my door, I'm standing there half asleep in my pajamas, and I'm trying to figure out how this even became a thing. But that was only the beginning. What happened next? Let's just say it turned into something way bigger than either of us expected. The officer looked just as confused as I felt. He was calm, professional, but you could tell even he thought the whole thing was a little over the top. He asked me if I had any idea why someone would call in a complaint like this, and all I could do was gesture toward my Jeep and say, "That's my driveway." Karen jumped in right away, saying that her guests couldn't find anywhere else to park and that she had asked nicely earlier. That was a lie. She hadn't spoken to me at all. Not a text, not a knock, nothing. The thing is, this wasn't the first time she had acted like the neighborhood revolved around her. She's the unofficial leader of the HOA, always sending out passive-aggressive emails and trying to control everything from where people put their trash cans to how long your porch light stays on. But calling 911 over a parked car in someone else's driveway, that was a new level. I started to wonder, was this just about parking, or was something else going on here? The officer said he couldn't force me to move my vehicle, but Karen didn't back down. She stood there like she expected me to apologize, and while I stayed calm, I could feel the situation shifting, like this was about to turn into something way messier. I shut the door after the officer left, thinking maybe that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Later that morning, I found a note taped to my front door. In neat handwriting, Karen had written that I was being uncooperative with the community and that my attitude would be addressed by the HOA. No signature, just her usual weird mix of fake politeness and threats. I wasn't surprised, but now I was officially on her radar, and not in a good way. A few neighbors started texting me, asking what happened. Word had gotten around fast. One of them even said Karen was telling people I refused to help during an emergency. Emergency? For a parking space. I couldn't believe how far she was spinning the story. And here's the twist, this wasn't just about one night. Apparently, she'd been pressuring other neighbors too, trying to make certain driveways shared use during events. No one wanted to speak up though. She had a way of making people feel like if they didn't fall in line, they'd regret it. Things started getting weird. I noticed a car parked right up against my mailbox. My trash bins were knocked over one morning. Small stuff, sure, but enough to make you feel like someone was trying to send a message. That's when I realized this wasn't just a petty parking dispute anymore. A few days passed, but the tension didn't. If anything, it got worse. Karen started walking by my house multiple times a day, slow and obvious, sometimes stopping to take photos of my yard or my Jeep. One morning, I caught her measuring how far my garbage bin was from the curb with a tape measure. She didn't even try to explain, just gave me this tight smile and walked off. That's when I knew she was gearing up for something bigger. Then came the HOA meeting. I didn't usually attend, but after everything, I decided to show up. The room was full, neighbors I barely knew, some who looked uncomfortable, others whispering as I walked in. Karen stood at the front like she owned the place, flipping through notes and casually bringing up recent disruptions to neighborhood harmony. She never used my name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. And then, right in front of everyone, she pulled out a printed complaint with photos of my Jeep and a list of supposed violations, none of which were real. She said I was being intentionally difficult, creating safety issues, and that the board would consider further action if things didn't change. I looked around the room. Some people avoided eye contact. Others looked like they wanted to say something but didn't. That's when I realized this was more than just a parking fight. Karen had been building a case, and I had no idea just how far she was willing to go. Just when I thought the HOA meeting was as bad as it could get, Karen pulled a move no one saw coming. She announced that a formal complaint had been filed with the city about me operating an unauthorized business from my home. I was stunned. My job is remote. I work from my laptop, no clients, no foot traffic, nothing. It was a total lie. But the way she said it, like she had solid proof, caught everyone off guard. A few people even nodded like maybe they believed her. After the meeting, I tried to brush it off. But the next day, I got a letter from the city's zoning department. It said they'd received a tip and needed to inspect the property for code compliance. That's when it hit me. Karen wasn't just trying to make my life uncomfortable. She was trying to get me kicked out of the neighborhood. The pressure didn't stop there. I started getting HOA notices almost daily, everything from overgrown grass to improper vehicle storage, all targeted at my Jeep. Funny thing is, my yard looked like every other one on the street, but suddenly, I was the problem. The weird part. One of my neighbors who had been friendly before stopped talking to me altogether. Later, I found out Karen had told people I was under investigation. That's when things started to unravel fast. The city inspector showed up that Friday afternoon. I was ready, laptop out, documents in hand, everything clean and organized. He walked through, looked around, and within 10 minutes told me there was clearly no business being run from my home. "Looks like someone's wasting our time," he said with a half smile. I didn't even have to say who filed the complaint. He already knew. Turns out, this wasn't Karen's first time pulling a stunt like this. That gave me an idea. I started talking to neighbors more, quietly asking if they'd ever had similar issues. Slowly, stories started trickling out. People told me about strange letters, random inspections, warnings from the HOA that didn't make sense. She'd been targeting people one by one, keeping everyone isolated so no one compared notes. So I put everything together. Emails, notices, her 4 a.m. 911 stunt, and submitted a formal complaint of my own, not just to the HOA, but to the board's legal oversight office. At the next HOA meeting, things flipped. One of the board members unexpectedly backed me up and revealed they'd been getting complaints about Karen for months. She tried to talk over him, but the room wasn't with her this time. And just when she thought she could control the narrative again, the twist hit. Turns out, she was never officially elected. Her position? Completely self-assigned. After the truth came out that Karen wasn't officially part of the HOA board, everything started to shift. A special meeting was called, and the real board members voted to remove her from any involvement moving forward. People who had stayed quiet before finally spoke up, sharing their own stories and frustrations. It was like the whole neighborhood finally woke up. The control she had over everyone vanished almost overnight. The bogus violations and fake complaints stopped. I haven't received a single HOA notice since. My Jeep still sits exactly where it always has, right in my driveway. And the best part, a few neighbors who used to avoid me have now become actual friends. We even set up a group chat to keep each other in the loop and make sure stuff like this never happens again. Looking back, it's wild how one parked Jeep at 4 a.m. turned into a full-blown neighborhood showdown. But it also showed me how important it is to stand your ground, even when someone louder or pushier tries to twist the truth. Not every conflict ends this cleanly, but this time, reason won out. Karen may have tried to run the neighborhood like her own kingdom, but in the end, All she really did was park herself right out of power.